Hello there, geeks and gamers, I'm MarcTheCyborg, and today I'd like to talk to you about a game I've been playing which I think you might enjoy. So without further ado... Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a stunning game with a touching story and incredible gameplay. This sequel to 2015's Ori and the Blind Forest takes nearly everything which was great about the original game and runs with it, while also refining some gameplay systems and expanding others. You once again play as Ori, a forest spirit creature who is essentially Ninja Baby Yoda. Will of the Wisps is at its core an exploration platforming game, but has a much greater emphasis on combat than its predecessor. Rather than having an auto-targeting, short-range lightning attack, you're given a variety of weapons, beginning with what is effectively a lightsaber. Jump is mapped to A on an Xbox One controller by default, so I mapped the sword to X and often had the bow and health regeneration abilities mapped to Y and B respectively, but I would frequently swap one or both of them out depending on the situation. At any time, you can squeeze the left trigger to bring up a weapon wheel, allowing you to remap your controls in the middle of battle. Despite the adorable character designs and emotional story, this is not a title for casual gamers. The tools to succeed are definitely at your disposal though, as the controls are razor sharp, even to the point that they make the original game seem loose in comparison. The lightsaber weapon lets you float in the air for a short combo, striking up or down while airborne has a very tactile feel, and combining the strikes with other abilities all flow together very well. Combat just never feels like an afterthought the way it did in the original game. If Blind Forest was a masterpiece tier jumping puzzle game with a bit of combat on the side, Will of the Wisp's greatest triumph is being both a masterpiece jumping game and a masterpiece action game. The enemies are fierce, the boss battles are creative, and every second of the game demands that you perform at a high level in order to succeed. Death will occur often, and luckily, just like in the original game, the reload time after death is almost instantaneous, so you won't often find yourself getting very frustrated. However, I preferred the save system from Blind Forest, which allowed you to drop save points anywhere in the game in exchange for a bit of ability energy. Ori and the Will of the Wisp implements an autosave system, which would be fine if it didn't break my game. When I was at about the halfway point, I experienced a major story beat, got a new critical item, and waited until I saw the now saving icon in the corner of the screen do its thing, then quit out of my game so I could join my girlfriend for dinner. The next day I began playing and could not for the life of me figure out where to go, but that was okay because the critical path isn't always incredibly clear in this game, so I explored for close to 2 hours before I realized that I absolutely no longer had the item I received at the end of my last session. This item was necessary to proceed, so I had to start the game fresh from the beginning, sacrificing not only around 4 hours of gameplay, but 2 hours of wandering around aimlessly before I figured out that the game had in fact totally screwed me. I do like this game enough that I wasn't deterred from doing this entirely, but as a caution to all players, I would strongly recommend using the fast travel shrines in order to very specifically save after major story events, rather than just trusting your fate to the autosave. Because even if the game you're going through for a second half a time is good, losing all your progress to a game-breaking glitch is a gigantic kick in the balls. I really don't want to undersell that problem, but the good news is, in the modern era of patches, fixes, and updates, it's not likely that a game-breaking bug like this will be present for very long, but it is a reason why you might want to wait a bit before you purchase. Another reason to wait is platform selection, as there are not currently versions of this game available on Nintendo Switch or GOG the way there are for Blind Forest. That being said, the game is available on Xbox Game Pass, both for PC and console, so if you're subscribed to that service, no further investment is required to play, but you can also purchase the game outright on Xbox One, Windows 10 Store, or where I play it on Steam. If you are brave enough to face potential game-ruining technical issues and are up for playing on one of the presently available platforms, just like Blind Forest, Will of the Wisp is a visual work of art. What Moon Studios does with the Unity engine is really incredible. Every frame of the game looks like a crazy glowing blacklight painting, and their use of layering makes the game world seem incredibly vast despite the gameplay taking place on a single 2D plane. There are also a lot of cool particle effects which can fill the screen with all sorts of madness. The only downside to this is that it can become a bit tricky trying to locate Ori amidst all the action at times. I played the entire game at my desk in front of the gaming monitor, so I didn't have too much of an issue with this, plus I have enhanced cyborg vision.
I see everything.
But if you have trouble tracking a puck while watching a hockey game, you may have a few issues during the intense battles of Ori. Well, what do you mean you don't watch hockey? Hockey's a sport of kings, eh? Go Leafs, go. The music is equally breathtaking, and while the voice work continues the series' interesting trend of having all characters speak in what is effectively gibberish, the booming voice of Quolok the lion turtle sounded notably cool. He's not actually a lion turtle, but he totally reminds me of the thing which teaches Aang energy bending in Avatar. Quolok he's more of a toad, really. Not to be outdone by the artistic and technical proficiency, the story is once again a beautiful, simple tale which is simultaneously heartbreaking and uplifting. The core of the narrative revolves around the friendship between Ori and the baby owl known as Ku, who is the child of the previous game's antagonist Kuro. I don't want to go into explicit details lest I ruin some of the twists and turns, but the series continues its ability to use minimal narrative in order to remind us of the value of family, regardless of whether or not the family in question is bound by blood. What's really amazing is that this level of artistic cohesion with the art direction, music, writing, and gameplay all coming together beautifully is that Moon Studios is entirely remote. In this era of social distancing and game releases being up in the air, it's crazy to think that an entire team of developers, all working from home in different countries, can produce something this incredible. The QA could use a bit of work to iron out things like game-breaking bugs, but it's worth noting that in the age of the international event which cannot be named, beautiful games are still capable of being produced. So if you're up for a stunning, emotional journey which will absolutely test your Twitch reflex skill, play both of the Ori games, they will not disappoint.